Mattoon, Illinois. It's a small town nestled between the cornfields in central Illinois, surrounded by rich farmland, and it was founded around as a railroad community in 1855. Most of the residents that live there have always been employed as factory workers, and that's what kind of keeps the town alive. It was the location that Ulysses S. Grant gathered men to form the Illinois Division of the Union Army at the beginning of the Civil War, and Abraham Lincoln once resided on a farm not too far from Mattoon. Many people living there today may not remember, but for 2 weeks in September of 1944, Mattoon residents were terrorized by a tall, mysterious prowler dressed in black, gassing them in their very homes. Sit back, hold your breath, and prepare to be paralyzed, because today, we're discussing the Mad Gasser of Mattoon.
It's evil! Don't touch it!
It's alive!
I was with you.
They're coming to get you. Power of Christ.
This is
Me?
Hello, Mr. Fancy Pants.
How you doing, Matt? What's going on, man?
No, I'm doing fantastic, man. I know this was actually requested, like, right, from an email. Yeah. Somebody wanted you to go into this story.
Somebody hit us on Instagram or Facebook or something, and we were actually, it was already on the books. I mean, I think I said, hey, we should probably do this because it's really close to where we grew up. You know, we both went to Lakeland College there for a minute.
Yep.
And we've both eaten at the Burger King that's not really a Burger King.
It is the Burger King.
It's the only Burger King you'll ever go in and not be able to get a Whopper.
The only, I mean, I went there for art, and then the only cool thing that ever really happened was that there was this tall, lanky motherfucker that was like in all my classes with long hair and a fucking chain wallet, and he was in a bunch of my classes, and I didn't talk to him for like a while, but then it was like one of those days. It's just like when I come out of class, he's sitting there wearing a Slayer shirt. I'm pretty sure is what he was wearing. Sepultura, Slayer, some shit like that. But he smoked just as much as I did. So after the classes,
he smoked way more than you did. But
yeah. And I just walked up and started talking to him. He just fucking sat down next to him, and that's how I got to meet Grant. And that's how I got to meet you and Beck and Schmeebs and fucking everybody. Yeah. I mean, really, the dude, Grant, started telling me about, I'm in this band. And we started talking. And then after that.
And it was all downhill from there for you, buddy. Yeah, sorry about that. Sorry about that.
Nothing but friendship after that.
Yeah. Yeah. Fuck, how long have we known each other now?
Well, that was 98, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fuck, we're old.
Yeah, I graduated in 97, so yeah. It was about 98.
Well, man, it's been a hell of a run.
I've had a good time.
I have too. Well, at the end of this episode, we do have an update on Dylan. He had some more information that you went back and you got from him, right?
Yeah, and he was what was it? Like it was a couple days after we did the interview thing. I did the interview thing with him or whatever, and then you had sent out what you had.
Right.
That we had. And then he calls me like a couple days after that. He goes, I don't know if I was blocking this from my memory or what, but he goes, I got a couple other things to talk about. And then those were super fucking creepy too. I was like,
I think they were way creepier than the shit he told us about on the podcast.
Yeah. So I believe that I do believe that he was trying to block him out because Dylan's not a bullshitter. I mean, why would you, what's he got to gain?
He seems like a straight shooter.
Yeah.
So stick around at the end of this episode for that update, and let's just dig into this shit because this is going to be a lot of me talking about dates and stuff. Yeah. So in 1944, it's World War II. A lot of men are off to war. We still haven't bagged that asshole Hitler yet, but
got another year.
So in the meantime, you've got all these women that are back home in the States, and they're all working in factories and stuff, and they're trying to keep the country, rolling and, producing anything that they need for the war effort, right?
Yep, keeping the country afloat.
Yeah, Mattoon is no exception to that rule. Lots of industry in Mattoon. And like I said, we both have spent plenty of time there.
Yep.
This story is one that is used in psychology textbooks to explain mass hysteria.
This is okay. I didn't know that. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. So I thought this would be a good one for us to hit.
Yep. Hell yeah. So
our story begins in August, the very last day of August 31st, 1944, which is coincidentally the same day Jack the Ripper's supposed first victim, Marianne Nichols, was found.
Wait, what was the date?
August 31st.
What was the year?
I don't remember the year that the Ripper's first victim was found.
1888.
There you go. 1888.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. So it's in the wee hours of the morning, around midnight probably, in Mattoon. And Urban Rafe wakes up sometime after midnight in his bed, and he smells this really heavy odor in his bedroom. He feels really sick, lightheaded. He wakes his wife up, and she's basically going through the same thing he's going through. She's really sick, really lightheaded. And he's like, God damn, did you leave the stove on? And she's like, no, I didn't leave the stove on. And they both struggle to get out of bed. They're both so weak that they're almost paralyzed. They can barely move. And they basically crawl out of their bedroom. They stumble through the house. They go check on their friends who they're staying the night with them in another bedroom. But their friends are fine. Okay.
Okay. So isolated incident.
Yeah, really. Yeah. Very, very strange. So they both start like immediately throwing up from the effects of whatever it is that they've come into contact with. But initially they write this all off as like food poisoning. They're like, God, we must have ate something bad,
Okay.
And they think nothing of it. All right.
I know the Mattoon Taco Bell wasn't open. Otherwise, I could 100% agree with
them. Right. Oh, so the very next night, September 1st, 1944, Aileen Kearney and her sister, Martha Reedy, they're at Aileen's home with their kids, and the sisters they're counting money from a government check Aileen's cashed earlier that day. Okay. Now it's 1944. There's no AC. It's hotter than F. We both know what the weather's like.
Yeah.
Around September, it's humid as F.
Mm-hmm.
So the windows are open. The front door's open. It's hotter than fuck that day. And Aileen gets kind of nervous because anyone walking around, through the neighborhood, they could see them counting this money through the front door or through the windows.
Yep.
And, she's like, okay, well, let's put this up and, it's time to go to bed. So she takes her daughter and she goes to bed around 11 o'clock. And as soon as she gets her daughter into bed and gets herself in bed, she immediately notices also this overwhelmingly sick, sweet odor. And she's convincing herself, it's got to be the flowers outside the bedroom window. But the longer she sits there, the stronger the odor gets. And then her throat starts to get like really dry. Her lips start to burn. Her legs start to go numb. And she screams for her sister, Martha. Martha comes bolting into the room, immediately smells this odor too. And, she pulls her and her daughter out of the room. Then she runs next door to the neighbor's house and tells them to call the cops. Now, Aileen's neighbor, his name was Earl Robertson. He comes over, he does like a quick search of the home, doesn't see anything, nobody's in the house. Then the cops show up. They can't find anything either other than this odor that's pretty much gone by the time they get there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was concentrated anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. So Aileen's husband, his name's Bert.
Bert.
So Bert gets home from work. He hears about this. He gets home about 12:30 and he pulls into the driveway and he sees this tall figure wearing a tightly fitting cap, dressed completely in black, standing in front of the windows of the house. Okay.
Yeah.
So Bert jumps out of his car, chases this person a couple blocks, but apparently Bert's a fat ass or he's out of shape because they get away.
The gasser eludes.
I'll get you next time.
Yeah, I got to imagine that he's got to have some kind of backpack apparatus of some fucking sort, right?
Yeah.
To pump in the gas.
Yeah. I have no idea, man. I'm not a gasser. I don't know how this works.
If I figure it out, you'll hear about me.
Oh, shit. So another unnamed woman who lives just west of Eileen's house, she also claimed that she woke up to this odor in her home. And upon investigating the odor, she found her kids were all sick in their beds, you know. And this is like within 5 blocks of Eileen's house.
Okay.
But Eileen was the only one to file a police report of the incident that evening. So,
if my kids are coming up sick, man, I'm gonna. And then neighbors' kids are like, even right now, like if somebody was like, "Oh, my kids are coming up sick because of something," I'm involved. I am fucking.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'm 100% in on that shit, and I'm related. Yeah. I'm related and friends with most of the cops in my town, so I'm gonna be on the phone.
Yeah, for sure. So same night, later that evening, this other lady named Mrs. George Ryder, doesn't really give her first name.
Okay.
She also claims to smell this odor.
Is it Winona?
Winona Ryder?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay. Just a childhood crush I'm bringing up from fucking Beetlejuice. Right. She'll never leave my conscience of me being a sucker for the witch, to quote Neil Fallon.
Yep. So same deal. She gets up, she smells the odor. Her kids are all sick too. You know, vomiting, lightheaded, weak, kind of paralysis.
Yep.
Okay, so we're 1 day into this. This is the first night.
One night, and that many people have been affected by this asshole.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
or at least could be more than one.
Could be more. Well, the only person, like I said, that was Eileen that called the cops on this. So, and this all happened within 5 blocks. And
shit.
I know most people don't know Mattoon. It's not a big town.
It's not. It's not huge. No. And the newspaper picked this up the next day. The local paper, it's the Mattoon Journal-Gazette. They covered the incident with the headline reading, "Anesthetic Prowler on the Loose. Mrs. Jones and daughter first victims." Okay, so at the time, 97% of the population got the newspaper because that's where you got your news. Yep. That's the only way you got it. And then I know the train goes through there, which is probably why it became a town in the first place. But
yeah,
it would have been even smaller back then. Yeah.
It's right after D-Day, and the government had already warned in the news that Nazis might launch gas attacks in retaliation to the U.S., Yep. So this is, everybody's pretty riled up about all this
stuff. Red alert everywhere,
yeah. So the next day, several days go by, nothing happens, but the paper keeps covering it, even on the days off, with headlines like Mattoon's mad anesthetist apparently took a respite from his maniacal forays. Terrified citizens inclined to hold their breath and wonder when he might strike next.
Anesthetist.
Yeah, try to say that 5 times fast.
Well, I'm not gonna, but that sounds way cool.
Yeah.
They had a sexy way about delivering the news back in the day, did they not?
Yes, they did. Yeah.
Like they really brought out the thesauruses.
So the Chicago papers that circulate in Mattoon, they pick up on this story too. Okay, so it spreads pretty quickly, and they're selling newspapers, so they're going to continue to cover it. It's kind of a strange occurrence, right?
If it's selling, hell yes,
That's
they
right.
will.
Yeah, if it ain't broken, don't fix it.
Yep.
So the next attack happens on Tuesday, September 5th. So like I said, he took 3 days off. And around 10 o'clock in the evening, Bella and Carl Cortez, they return home. They go through their house, through the back door. They sit down on the couch. And Bella notices this white cloth leaning on the screen door of the front porch of their home. And she's like, well, what the fuck is that? So she goes, she picks it up. She's a wet spot in the middle of it. And she doesn't even think about it. She's like, what is that? So she just brings it up to her face and smell it. Yeah. And she immediately feels this sensation of like electrical current through her whole body. And then she's like basically paralyzed. Her husband, Carl, freaks out, gets her back in the house. Her lips start to swell up, crack, and bleed.
Whoa.
Then her throat starts to burn. She starts spitting out blood. Now Carl's really fucking freaked out. He calls the doctor and has a doctor come to the house, check her out. Within 2 hours, most of the symptoms have subsided, but the next day, her lips are very visibly swollen still and cracked from, the effects of whatever this shit was.
So it could have been completely from the night before, and that whatever liquid that was on that she smelled was still fucking potent.
She had direct contact with it. It's like she put it on her face. So
that's chemical warfare. I mean,
yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So the next day when she feels well enough, she gets out of bed and she goes out on the front porch and in the front yard, and she starts looking around, just trying to see what the fuck's going on. She's seeing if she sees anything else and she sees a skeleton key laying in the yard. Kind of weird. Yeah. And then she also finds this empty lipped stick tube.
The fuck's up with that?
I don't know. I mean, it could just be coincidence. Somebody runs out of lipstick and they just drop it.
Could have been, I suppose. Yeah. I don't know how that would have been. Well, I don't know. It could have been used to hold something.
Could have been. That's the theory. So when the police were called, they took the rag, had it sent to be analyzed, but it took like 60 hours before anything was done. And because of that, whatever chemical was on this rag could not be identified. It pretty much had evaporated by that point.
Okay.
So until this point, cops think they're dealing with like a burglar because, the Kearneys, they had the money out. They were counting it. Yep. But then after all these other people started to come forward with their stories, they were kind of just like, what the fuck, no motive, no common ground to tie any of these people together. And they just think like, well, we're fucking dealing with a real fucking nut job now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agree.
So the next day, Wednesday, September 6th, the Mattoon Police Commissioner, Thomas Wright, he contacts the Illinois Department of Public Safety and asks for their help in finding this weirdo. Okay. So they send down Richard Piper, who is the superintendent of the Bureau of Criminal Identification and Investigation. And also 2 members of the Springfield branch of the FBI show up the same day. So now the cops, the local cops, they're up to their necks in state and government agencies to help capture this dingus.
That's got to be fun for those guys. Right?
Well, I think you take whatever you can get.
Whatever help you can get. Yeah, you'd want it. But also it'd be like, they're busting their balls.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck are we doing here? You can't solve anything. So yeah, I would have.
Right.
Who knows?
So that very evening, the police department goes out in full force. Many officers, they pull double shifts to do this to, help ensure public safety so the public feels safe.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you've also got all of your shotgun wielding townsfolk patrolling the streets as well, all vigilante style.
Oh boy. Yeah, I get but I get that.
Yeah.
And it was like fucking silver bullet.
Speaking of silver bullets, this is like it's like a hold my beer moment for the Mad Gasser, because he must have just been like, hey, hold my beer, watch this. He hit 7 different houses that night.
In one night while they're patrolling.
What? All these extra people are patrolling 7 houses.
Fuck, they suck at patrolling. I think they were drinking beer.
Yeah.
Instead
7
of patrolling.
7 houses between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. that night.
Let's sit on Main Street in the back of our trucks and empty these coolers instead of driving down these roads.
Yep. So the next day, headlines read, Mad anesthetist strikes again.
I like that better than Gasser. That sounds more tough.
I like Gasser. It makes it sound a bit more British to me, and I like Gasser.
Yeah. Well, that's what it's known as. But
Yeah, yeah. So, locals are panicked the next day, obviously. Many women that are home alone due to their husbands being off to war, a lot of them packed up, moving in with their friends or their neighbors just so they're not alone at night. Kids are encouraged not to go out after dark. And even though it's hotter than fuck outside, most people choose to close their windows and doors rather than tempt fate,
Yep.
So that night, there were 3 gas attacks at one residence. Francis Smith.
Wait, three gas attacks just at one residence.
True. At 3, yeah.
This
Francis Smith.
dude or whoever was super pissed at these people. It's like 3 times.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And hold on. I'm thinking there had to be somebody local, and this is why.
Okay.
Francis Smith was the principal of the Columbia Grade School.
All right.
And her sister Maxine lived with her, and they both wake up to this same odor, the sickly sweet odor of flowers. They find themselves unable to move because they're kind of paralyzed in their beds. And the gasser comes back 2 more times to their house. He comes back twice. He's like, fuck you, you get a little more. Fuck you, you get a little more.
I kind of think that the earlier ones were just like test runs to see how it was going to work, because that dude was just like, this bitch fucking wouldn't let me graduate or anything like that. It was just fucking had such a hardcore grudge. This is like, I gotta get back. I gotta get back at her. Oh, her sister's there. That's even better.
The paper the next day said that they sat there basically unable to move as this blue thick smoke comes through their bedroom, and they hear this strange buzzing noise come from underneath their bedroom window.
Blue sounds like
it
exhaust.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's some there's a buzzing outside, so yeah, it's being pumped in somehow by some way, and then the blueness to it makes it seem like some kind of exhaust or the burning off of fumes to pump it in.
It's
I'll never know because I'm not a scientist.
I'm no chemist myself. All right, so that was Thursday. Now we're up to Friday. So right now we're like basically 8-9 days into this affair. Okay.
And he's hit how many?
Fuck, a lot.
Yeah. 7 one night and fucking 3
8,
times.
9, 10, 11, 12. Technically that's like 13.
No, that's a lot.
Yeah. 3 of them are the same, but okay.
Yeah, but
so
that's
the next night,
that's the 3 attempts on one place. It's like
right. That's
know.
the one. They're really pissed off at those people.
They had a fucking sore ass about whoever lived there.
Yeah,
it could have been. I guess it could have been somebody that was like, "Oh, they bought this house from out from underneath us." I'm thinking like, "What about Bob?" But
I love that movie.
That's a great one.
All right, so Friday night, September 8th, local taxi cab driver Leroy Cook is on his midnight shift doing his rounds. He turns onto DeWitt Avenue, drives right through this cloud of gas. Okay, so he immediately stops, goes and calls the cops. But by the time they get there, there's like a small crowd gathered on the scene. Okay.
Yeah.
And this crowd includes 2 reporters from Chicago who later report that they and up to 70 other people present had suffered the same symptoms as previous victims: vomiting, headache, weakness, paralysis, dry throat, swollen lips. Were there really 70 people there?
That seems steep.
Yeah, in Mattoon, it seems pretty steep after midnight in
for that time, anyway. Yeah. About this time, if he was doing some shit like that, maybe, but
it's hard telling.
Yeah.
Later that night, though, several hours I think after that, the gasser strikes again across town at another residence where Genevieve Haskell, her son Grayson Wayne, and 2 guests all awoke with similar symptoms. I'm just all the same thing. Everybody feels sick, swollen lips, kind of paralyzed, and we're talking about vomit a lot. So let's just leave it there.
Yeah.
So the next day, Saturday, September.
It's almost like they're not talking about burning eyes and stuff, or it's more like a tear gas, but then tear gas isn't blue, and yeah, it definitely burns your eyes and shit. So I don't.
Yeah. I think this, to me, it sounds like it's never really technically identified, but it sounds like a vomit gas. You ever heard of vomit gas?
Oh, I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, like they use it in. I think they developed it like in World War II.
Well, that's right around the time.
And it makes you want to throw up. I mean, that's basically what it does. It just makes you feel like shit.
And whenever you do throw up, your body does lock up. So
yep,
it's kind of okay.
That's my theory anyway.
This is a good one.
All right, let's go with it. So the next day, Richard Piper, the Illinois State Department of, whatever, he states to the public that this is the weirdest case he's ever been assigned to, and the gasser had to be mentally imbalanced. He says, whoever he is, he might be brilliant, but he's a nutter. He's a nut. He rules out the possibility that this person is a peeping Tom, but his true motivations remain unknown. Not just money, not money, not sexual gratification. It's this person's just gassing people to gas people.
I think his motive is just chaos. I think that's what he wants to do. It's just
he's like reminds me of the Joker.
Yeah, well, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, with nobody's dying.
He doesn't want to. Well, he doesn't want to harm anybody, but he wants to scare the fuck out of everybody just for like a jolt. Maybe that's like his game. Like that's what gets him off. This blows his skirt up. It's just to scare the fuck out of everybody. And then I think it could have been like, he knows all these people are out looking for him, so that's why he hit 7 homes in one night. It's just like, that makes me feel really good because you guys were out looking for me and you couldn't do shit. Look at me go.
Yep. So the same day that Richard Piper makes this proclamation, the gasser gets busy, getting gassy again. He hits 4 more houses
in one night.
And guess what? You know what the last house is?
What one?
He goes back to old Francis's house
again.
Again, yes.
Yeah, this dude's got a vendetta.
Yeah, he goes the principal's house again.
Yeah.
She must have really pissed him off.
Apparently.
That's 4 times.
You slapped me with a ruler, bitch. One time.
So the next day, Sunday, September 10th, the police department and the police chief Cole, they come under high scrutiny from the papers and some articles that are printed in Chicago newspapers. And they basically paint a soap opera-esque picture of a less than adequate police force that lacks leadership and the ability to catch this person.
That's true.
Yeah.
This seems factual all the way through.
So for days, the cops had been focusing on one suspect who was an amateur chemist, and he'd been watching him on a 24-hour day cycle.
Yeah.
And he'd been home the night before. So it obviously wasn't him that had attacked those 4 houses.
No, unless he's got a crew working for him or some shit.
Yeah. So I guess the public was not supposed to be made aware of this, but the Chicago Herald American paper ran an article with this information that Sunday. And when they made it known to the public, the Commissioner Wright, he gets really fucking pissed off. He's furious. And he claims that they had 4 suspects. 2 of them are home chemists and 2 of them are like just avid crackpot type people. But the names are never released.
Yeah, because they didn't have them.
Because they didn't have him. He just fucking made this shit up.
Yeah, exactly. Like trying to take a little stress off of himself, most likely, if I had to guess.
Yeah. And the only person they had picked up so far in this whole case had been someone who said that they were just lost. Like they'd picked him up at like 2:00 in the morning or something like that.
So,
and they claimed to be from out of town and they were lost. But I'm not sure how you fucking get lost in Mattoon. How the fuck do you get lost in Mattoon?
Well, there's a main street and then there's not.
Pretty much. Yeah. Anyway, so Chief Cole, he makes a statement saying no further reports were going to be taken from victims unless they consented to a medical exam, or their other option would be they could spend the night in jail.
I guess
it's one or the other, right? So
spend the night in jail.
I guess. I mean, what else are you going to do? You don't really have a lot of options. So that night,
this police force sucks. It's like everything else back in the day, though, man. They all sucked because they weren't used to it. They didn't know basically anything. They were just like,
whatever. Whatever. We'll take care of it. So that night, a woman who is in this local movie theater, she causes a mass panic when she screams about being attacked. And so she's examined by a doctor. She's sedated. And then it's later announced that she's been overly stressed by nerves. So when the police chief Cole saw how embarrassed this woman became upon announcing this to the public, because he figured the mandatory examinations would definitely help deter anybody else from making claims of attacks.
oh yeah, for sure. That's what's going to help.
He got it dead bang, man. I mean, there were few people who were willing to risk the ridicule from all this shit.
Yep.
So the next day,
So
Monday,
did he basically throw her under the bus to be like, leave me alone?
fuck
That's what
yeah,
he did.
Yeah, he's like, fuck you people. Yeah.
Nah.
He was sick of all these people. Basically, they would
Do your job.
they would all sit down at the police station because the cops don't have CBs in their radios. They have no radios in their cars at this point.
Okay.
The local cops don't. So every call would have to be originated from the police
Dispatch.
Yeah. So
Okay.
you've got all these people just hanging out at the police dispatch and they're watching all these cops leave and then they just follow them. And he was fucking pissed because of this.
Yeah, it sounds like he threw her under the bus.
Yeah, he fucking totally did. So September 11th, Monday, 10 state police officers show up to help patrol.
There you go.
All right. That night, the last recorded attack takes place at the home of Bertha Bentz, 50-year-old widow. She stated that in the early hours of the morning, her bedroom was sprayed and filled with that same sweet-smelling gas, followed by this strange buzzing noise that comes from out of her bedroom window. Gas makes her nauseous. She almost faints. She can't really use her legs. Her son awakens, in the middle of the night. She's crying. Her son wakes up. He hears her crying. So he runs outside. He sees this short, heavy-set person wearing dark clothing running away down a back alley, which is opposite of the first description, right?
Yeah,
tall.
Absolute opposite.
Which is, So that makes me think it's got to be more than one person, right?
Yeah, it's a team of assholes.
Yeah. So her son goes back and he's examining the flower bed. He notices some footprints in the flower bed just under the window, which had clearly been made by a woman's shoe with high heels. And I'm not talking like stilettos. I'm talking more like a work style shoe that was popular at a time that had a higher heel in it.
A woman's shoe?
Yep. So we go from a tall man to a short woman.
Well,
So
tall, slender man to a short or fat man to a woman.
Yeah, weird, huh?
Huh? Maybe that was his shoes of preference.
Could be. So the next day, the story's covered by the Chicago Herald American, but the local paper doesn't ever cover this story. The Mattoon paper doesn't cover this story.
Probably because it doesn't give any resolve to anything. They don't want to. Imagine they're wanting to get out from underneath this as fast as fucking possible.
I think the papers were eating this shit up, though. I mean, everybody was buying the papers.
Yeah, but if the cops got in there and said, you got to stop fucking printing this shit because it's making us look bad, I guarantee you the papers would be like, all right, fine.
Yeah, but the Chicago papers don't give a fuck.
No, the Chicago papers don't give a rat's ass, no.
Yeah. Let's say so. The next day, Tuesday, September 12th, the Mattoon Journal-Gazette, they run an article where they quote Police Chief Cole as stating, the case of the Mad Gasser was a mistake from beginning to end.
What?
Local police in cooperation with state officers have checked and rechecked all reported cases, and we find absolutely no evidence to support the stories that have been told. Mass hysteria must be blamed for such seemingly accurate statements of supposed victims. However, we have found that large quantities of carbon tetrachloride are used in the war work done at the Atlas Imperial Diesel Engine Company plant, and that it has an odor which could be carried to all parts of the city as the wind shifts. It also leaves stains on clothing, such as those found on the rag at the Carl Cortez home.
That how far away?
Get the fuck out of
Fuck
here.
out of here, man. It drifted that far and stained that particular piece of rag, and get the fuck out of here, man.
I know you're close enough to Staley that you know.
I can smell Staley's every once in a while. Yeah, Staley's in Decatur. Yeah, it'll get a waft when the wind blows the right way, but it doesn't make you fucking pass out.
Right. Exactly.
That's bullshit. It was blowing in the perfect.
It is bullshit. I agree.
Current.
It's total bullshit.
It's like, we got to save our asses because we don't really fucking know what's happening here. So we're just going to say whatever it takes to get it off our backs that's what I'm hearing.
So as he pushes the buck, Police Chief Cole pushes the buck down the line, the next day, W.J. Webster, the plant manager at the Atlas Imperial Diesel Engine Company, he denies all allegations made by Chief Cole, made a statement saying that is completely ludicrous.
Yeah.
He makes it a point to state that the main use for the chemical found in the factory that was listed was for their fire extinguishers, and that he had never had one claim or complaint from any employee or having any symptoms similar to those of the victims of these attacks.
Plus, if it's a fire extinguisher, it will take your breath away, but I don't think it paralyzes you.
I worked with fire extinguishers for a few years, and I tell you what, no. Mm-hmm. I mean, unless it's a carbon dioxide, it's not going to take your breath away. Now it stinks.
Yeah,
I haven't,
and it will incapacitate you for like a second, but
it's not going to paralyze you.
It's certainly not a blue gas that. I mean,
makes you vomit.
As soon as it hits you, because it's taking the moisture out of the air. So breathing's tough, but the rest of it doesn't make fucking sense.
Yeah, I agree. So W.J. Webster also has a member of the state health department come to the factory to investigate the claim that the plant had been the cause of this gas. And the report filed by the state health department backed Webster's claim and stated that there was no possibility of carbon tetrachloride vapors getting into the atmosphere in any concentration large enough to be considered at a toxic level. So basically he was covering his ass and he was like, fuck you, copper.
Yep.
And that's what I would have done too.
No, I get it.
Yeah. So the very last article runs on Thursday, September 14th in the Chicago Herald-American. And it was pretty far out, like real far out. Mattoon's only fortune teller related to a reporter that the gasser wasn't a human being at all, but rather a spectral ape man with a spray gun.
Of course it was. I get this now. Now I'm in. Now I am involved.
I mean, she heard that's the rumor around town anyway, right?
Spectral ape man is definitely what we should go with because
she claimed that she'd witnessed this 2 times. And the final time.
No, hang on. Spectral ape man in women's shoes is definitely what was doing this. Open shut. We could just end the episode right now, and we have solved this motherfucker.
All right, thanks for hanging out, guys. No, she claims that this spectral ape man, she saw him twice, and the last time she saw him, she ended up collapsing on the floor at the hands of his gas.
Okay.
She sounds like a real fucking nutter too.
Yeah. On purpose.
Yeah. So after this article, like the following weeks, all calls about the gasser stopped. And apparently, Chief Cole's tactics, they apparently worked. All the calls for the whole year were pretty much at their lowest point, all police calls. And like it or not, he pretty much had made sure that the case of the Mad Gasser had been officially closed forever.
Did whoever was doing it just get bored? You know what I mean?
We don't know.
Or
don't know.
Maybe more so they ran out of whatever fucking gas it was that they had that they were, you know what I mean? Like they couldn't reproduce it. Like maybe it was somebody from the military that brought back some gas and they only had so much.
Well, at the time, like home chemistry was like a really big hobby for some people. So a lot of people had like small little chemistry labs in their garage or whatever. So it's not unheard of to just be able to make this, whatever it was.
Yeah, but still nobody knows what it was, which is fucked up. I don't think this will never be solved. I don't think.
Well, there are some theories.
Here we go.
Most of this stuff, most of the information I got comes from this book I found online from a local Mattoon resident, this guy named Scott Maruna.
Okay.
And I liked it strictly because he has everything sequentially in time, and that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that.
Everything,
I like that too.
everything I read on this, though, it was like people either took one side or the other, and it's mass hysteria, or it's a person, you know, or it's a spectral ape man from a different fucking dimension.
Definitely. Well, we've nailed that we know that is definitely the cause.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with spectral ape man.
All right. We'll stick with that. Well, this guy's a different theory, but before we get to that, so this is 2 weeks that this happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
25 people filed reports in 2 weeks on this. No one was ever formally charged. And, you know, there's other gas attacks that have happened around the United States up until like 1962. I mean, there's Texas, Ohio, South Dakota, Pennsylvania. And like we just said, a lot of different weird fucking theories.
Yeah.
But this guy that wrote this book, he claims that the Mad Gasser was a local resident there. He says he said it was a man named Farley Llewellyn, and Farley's family owned a grocery store at 920 DeWitt Avenue in Mattoon at the time.
Okay.
This kid was he wasn't a kid at the time, but when he was in high school, he was considered to be one of the brightest people in town. He had attended the U of I as a chemistry major. Ding ding.
Did that principal ever fuck him over though?
I don't know. I mean, if he grew up there, maybe.
Could have been a vendetta.
What? Could have been. Well, let's go on here. It says he moved back from the U of I because he was socially awkward.
No.
Rumored to be a homosexual.
Well, okay. Well, yeah, back then.
1944.
Yeah, that's not good back then. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So maybe this principal was a real fucking bitch to him.
No. Well, yeah, most likely. Yeah. And it's like you're the spawn of Satan or whatever.
Right. Right.
You don't.
So Farley had apparently designed, built, and equipped his own full-scale chemistry lab in the basement of his home.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And he was described as being a loner, had a bit of a drinking problem. And by the time he hit his mid-30s, most people saw his mannerisms and behavior just kind of grow odder and odder. Most people that knew his family thought he was kind of losing his mind.
Yeah. That does make sense if you're not accepted over and over and over and over and over and over.
Yeah. 1 week before all these gassing started, a neighborhood recalled seeing smoke billowing out of Farley's lab. But Farley comes out of the lab. He's unscathed. And immediately after the last gas attack, Farley moved away.
Oh, well that...
Forever.
Okay.
Because they put him in a state mental institution.
Holy shit. Okay. Well,
yeah.
Also nobody died. So if he was doing that just to fuck with people, well done.
Yeah. And that is all I've got on the Mad Gasser of Mattoon.
I think
it's not Mattoon, actually. It's Mattoon.
Mattoon. Yeah, you gotta say Mattoon.
I get from people who live around there.
No.
Or have lived around there.
Or you can say it however the fuck you want. It's not going to bother me. So I don't give a shit. I say Mattoon. If you say Mattoon, go ahead.
It's not spittoon. It's Matt.
Yeah, couldn't give a rat's ass.
All right, guys. Well, that's all we've got for right now. But stick around, and here is the rest of Dylan's story.
Hell yeah.
Okay, I'm Dylan Meyer, guest, I guess, here. Just kind of adding to some of the stories I told Matt the other day. At one point, I want to say it was probably about December of 2020-ish. I know it was December. It was like right around Christmas. The wife had gotten COVID, so we got quarantined. I got quarantined with her, stuck at home for 2 weeks, and just kind of going stir crazy in the house. So one day I went down to the old farm that my dad grew up on. This is like a quarter mile down the road. And I was kind of climbing up onto, there's a shed out there that's basically collapsed in on itself. And every time the wind would pick up, it'd take like the old tin and stuff and just blow it out into the field. And then I've got to walk out into the field to get it. So I said, I was just bored, looking for something to do. So I went down there and I just started pulling the tin and stuff off of it and stacking it up. And I was getting like up to kind of the ridge, the peak, I guess what you'd call it. And I was starting to pull some of the sheeting off up there, and just clear as day, I heard my dad scream my name. Like that pissed off dad voice, like he knew I was doing something stupid.
You're not doing it right?
Yeah, it was Dylan. And I was like, oh. I mean, it was enough that I stopped and looked at it came from in the direction of the house where he grew up in. And of course, and it was his voice. I mean, just to a T. And I was like, that's a little bit too much,
Yeah.
That was the only thing I ever had happen down there, specifically on I guess what you'd call it, where he grew up at, the farm, whatever. Another one that I missed the other day, my son was potty trained, but not like fully. I mean, he knew how to use the bathroom, but he was still at the point where he wasn't big enough. I had to actually sit him on the toilet.
I get it, yeah.
So he told me one day, he's like, Dad, I gotta go potty. Okay, so I got up, followed him into the bathroom, got him ready, set him up there, give him his privacy. I usually shut the door, say, hey, buddy, just holler at me when you're ready, and I'll come clean you up and whatever. I went back in the living room, sat down on the couch. That was when that couch was sitting on the south wall of the house underneath where the deer heads are.
Yep.
And I was sitting there watching TV, and the next thing I know, my son comes walking down the hallway right through like the little dining room area there and just walked out the front door. Without saying a word, he just walked through, opened the door, and out he went. And I was like, what the fuck, man?
Uh-oh.
Like, he knows he's not supposed to go outside if he doesn't have anybody with him. So I hopped up, threw my boots on, walked outside. I mean, it couldn't have been 10 seconds after he went out the door, and he wasn't out there. And I'm like, shit, the creek's down here.
Yeah.
He could have, and just in 10 seconds, I know he's a toddler. He'd been about 2.5, 3-ish probably at that point.
Panic sets in immediately. Yeah.
And he's not right in this immediate area, so I made a real quick lap around the house. And my wife was still at the house at this point, and I was like, I cannot let her know I just lost her son.
Yeah. Oh, I get it, yeah.
It's on me. I watched him walk out the door. So I made another lap around the house the opposite way, went to the far end of the yard, kind of like where your headlights were pointing the other night, down into that corner, because I'd covered everything. And then I started yelling for him. And about that time, I think I was running back inside to grab my wife, and she had heard me, and she's like, what the fuck is going on? I was like, he walked outside, and I can't find him, And she was like, fuck, where's he at? And I was like, see, that's the issue I'm having.
Yeah, that's do you see the panic on my face? Like, join me.
I am distraught right now, ma'am. So I stayed outside. I think she was putting her shoes on, and I was like, he is not out here at all. Like, maybe when I went around the house, maybe he went back inside. I don't know.
Maybe he's hiding somewhere. Yeah.
So
thinks it's a game.
Yeah, so I'm checking the house, and she's like, "Where was he?" I was like, "He was in the fucking bathroom." I watched him walk through the house, out the front door, and she walked back to the bathroom. She was like, "He's in here."
Oh.
So I walked back there, and sure enough, he's still sitting there on the shitter.
Oh man.
Yeah, that one was.
That's the worst.
Yeah,
man.
Because then at that point, it's like, okay, like, because I never really looked at him when he come down the hallway. I just watched him. You know, I was watching TV, just expecting, because usually he'd just come up and crawl up on the couch with me. No, he just went the opposite way and out the door.
I would imagine like he was going to walk past you to go to the kitchen, get a treat or something like that. And
no, out the door he went. And like I said, I never looked directly at him, so I'm not going to say it was him, but it was a child. It was his size.
Close enough, you didn't bother to look.
Yeah. It was like, whatever. I mean, yeah. I've been here long enough with this kid. I know his size at least coming through here. It wasn't like a fucking 6 foot tall figure. It was a child that I just thought was my son.
So the door actually opened.
Door opened and closed.
Shut behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the creepiest thing.
Yeah,
that's creepier than everything else.
And I'm upset kind of that I forgot about it in the first round because, like I said, I've been sitting just going back through all of this stupid stuff that's gone on and just like randomly remembering this stuff and that one specifically, because that was one of the real ones where I was like, oh fuck.
I don't want to just shut that out. I think, too.
And I think that's probably what I did until I started digging for it again, because the more I think about it, the more it's like, yeah, that was too much.
Yeah. I get why you're like, oh, that never happened.
Yeah.
That never happened. That was me.
I'm just repressing that one.
It's all on me.
Yeah. I'm imagining things, hallucinating.
Oh, man. The doppelganger thing is the craziest.
Well, and then I was thinking about it earlier again today, like with my ex-wife, when her mom saw her when she was little. Like, you know, this had been like late 90s, I guess. Like, so her mom saw a doppelganger of her own daughter. And now, allegedly, I guess you'd say, I did it with my son. So, like, is there some sort of connection there with of my wife? You know,
stuff travels like that. I don't know.
Because she'd experienced it before. Now then it happened again, 20 some years later, just with our son. I don't know.
It depends on the stories you've heard, because I've heard like it travels through generations or whatever, like certain things do, but it didn't happen to her, it happened to you.
Yeah.
I mean, you freaked the shit out of her too, because you're like,
yeah.
boys out here in the woods and I can't fucking find you.
Oh, it was pure just panic.
I would have been in the same situation. I'd been like, what are you doing?
I watch a lot of like the 411 missing persons cases.
Oh boy,
and stuff.
that won't help you.
Just go up and smoke in the woods and just disappear forever,
Yeah, exactly.
Like, and that's all that's on my mind is like, whoa, no.
Yeah, this guy knew everything about the forest. He just came up, no, he's not there.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. And then like the stuff that when I talked to Samantha here the other day, like just randomly in the middle of the night, she'd hear stuff just get knocked off of the counters and stuff. And
she's cool. She's cool with this.
Oh, I'm sure she's fine with it.
Okay.
I mean, I told her I was gonna,
Okay.
So I asked her specifically. I was like, I'm going to go back and add to it. I was like, is there anything else you remember? So, but yeah, that was just.
Well, she wants to go on and tell a story too. Just make sure.
I'll ask
her. Let her know. We're wide open.
She wants to clear some of the stuff up because, like, some of the stuff that she experienced.
Yeah, when you weren't
younger,
home, I'd like to hear that.
There, yeah.
That'd be great.
Let's see if I can get her
if she's cool with it. Anyway.
Yeah, it's hard telling. But yeah, it's at this point that's about all I can remember. Again, I'm gonna keep even. I mean, from now on, every time a random memory comes up, I'm gonna stop to think, be like, man, was that connected to everything, or am I just being paranoid? Because like it's been just every little thing. It's like, oh no.
Yeah, it's all connected, I think. So I want you to look at the time on this.
About 9 minutes and 12 seconds ish.
Fucking crazy shit, dude.
Dude, it's so good. The thing was, he had called me and he was like, he texted me. No, he texted me. And he said, I've got some things, but I think I blocked them out of my head because I didn't want to remember them. And then after I heard the story, I was like, no, I get that. No.
Yeah.
I get why you was blocking that out. But then I was like, yeah.
Fucking doppelganger bullshit?
Dude, that's fucking terrifying too. It's like he hit like every parameter of fucking, shadow people. Fucking whatever that fucking hooded thing was, doppelgangers, and seemed to have fixed it by just walking through the house, opening up the windows and telling everything to leave. But we'll see.
Well, I honestly hope you don't have to go back. I hope his issues are over. So
I do too.
Yeah.
But I also hope we get more stories because I got to give this fucking book away, and I'll say it again on this episode. Just in case it didn't get picked up on the last one, that I got this book, Deviant, and I've read it 3 fucking times, and I'm done.
I guess you can tell him now that next week's going to be Ed Gein, huh?
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. Yeah, next week will be Ed Gein, and I have this book. Harold Schechter's Deviant, and it's fucking phenomenal, but I've read it 3 times. And so this will go, it was Zach's idea. He came up with it. It was a great idea that the next person that comes through with a listener story, that they're either, hopefully you're able to get on here and do it with us. That would be perfect. But if you can't, we'll figure out something. But the next person that can do it, I will just mail you that book. And it can be yours with all my highlights and bullshit in it.
And if you want to get a hold of us, by the way, the easiest way to do that is you can hit us up on social media. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, or you can email us at hmfppod@gmail.com.
Yes, sir.
Rock. Well, I guess I'll go, I'll break out my nipple belts and get ready for next week, man. Stretch out. Got to pull out the old skin covered wicker chairs out of the attic and turn on my light with my human face lampshade.
Turn on the little stove and have you some pork and beans, motherfucker, because we're getting ready to strap in.
Oh shit, it's gonna get gruesome. Well, Matt, thanks for putting up my bullshit with the Mad Gasser, man.
Hey, thanks for telling me your bullshit. Love it.
All right, guys. Thanks for liking, rating, and reviewing, and subscribing to the podcast.
Please keep doing it.
Tell your friends. And until next Tuesday, we'll see you next Tuesday.
Later.
It's evil! Don't touch it!
I was with you.
They're coming to get you. God of Christ.
Hello, Mr. Fancy